at 11 a.m. you may hear in your headphones. Not an issue. Not an issue, exactly.
Not an issue.
Are you already live?
We are live.
All right, I will turn your mics on. We can do a quick check.
Awesome. I gotta get some headphones because I really hate these.
I'm sorry, these cost ones, these are not noise canceling. They were $21.
That's not bad.
They're quite decent.
Do not mess with the music at the beginning. I got a long open. George said you mess with the volume on the opening music.
I don't.
I don't know. I told him not to though.
No, the only one I control is her. I mean, I could, but I don't.
It's been cutting out like
That's not
really early, which kind of throws me.
That is not me. I do hers for her action items.
I'm gonna get both you and George in a room because someone's lying to me.
Well, I don't do it.
Jan Nahorsky put up a meme that says, I haven't seen liberals this upset since yesterday.
All right, folks. We could do a sound check.
Check, check, check.
Cash.
No, really, if we could do a sound check, that would be great.
Sound check, guys.
The check is sound.
Like a real one. Like put the microphone
check,
in front
check.
of your
Sound is check.
There we go.
Yikes.
This is AM 560.
Yikes.
The answer. So I'm going to do it. Here's a thought.
That seems like a pretty good level for you, Dave.
Here's a thought that something we can do if we really wanted to be tricky. At the end of one of these, I could go, and you're listening to AM 560, and then you go, I'm sorry, you're listening to AM 560, the answer.
No, that sounds awful.
Okay.
It does. We can do that digitally if you want to sound terrible well.
Let me think
I
about
just
that.
thought-
No.
Best possible version of terrible.
Yeah, if we're trying to resurrect the genre of like monster truck ads for the Rosemont
Exactly.
Horizon circa
Exactly.
1988.
Sunday.
we do the same
that would
thing
be
every
bad.
every segment, every show. For
Sunday day.
years
Oh
we've
my
been doing it.
gosh.
Do you hear
Monster
that?
truck
How many
jam at the
years?
Rosemont Horizon, son.
Now
You're terrible.
No, that started with the Speedway.
Yeah.
I should probably.
I think that's probably pretty much
dispense
the
with high
same
heels.
crowd.
If
What
I'm
was
gonna-
the,
if I'm going to use the Amy Jacobson
US
simulator,
30?
I should
No,
probably not wear high heels.
We don't want you.
US 41.
Yeah.
That'll come to me. I can't think of it now.
All right, who's ready?
Big Daddy Don Garlitz.
Oh, David, could you please, before we begin, just go ahead and hit some sort of sound there on
do you
your
mean?
board? I want to make sure it's
Oh.
going through.
I can do that.
Like what you talking about, Willis, or something.
Yeah, I gotta make the.
You should be able to tap it with your finger.
Oh, does it work again?
That one always has.
Oh, I didn't know that. Here.
Okay.
Oh, which we don't.
It's time now.
Then.
There
All
you
right,
go.
cool. Can you stop it? Thank you. All right.
Now it's just flashing though. How do you actually kill it?
You just tap it again.
That's what-
If you tap pause, it'll flash and pause. And then if you tap in the meat of the button,
okay.
it will stop.
Oh, we're having fun now.
All right, I am ready when you guys are. So let me know.
Are you ready?
I'm gonna cut out this "give us a call" thing because they're not going to.
Oh, good point.
Good call.
Good. That's ironic. It was a good call.
Ironically, you've had now one good call. That's right. Perfect.
Yeah, well, it'll be the first and last, so get used to it.
I'm David. Okay, I'm ready whenever you guys are.
Yeah, we're ready.
Good knowledge there. All right, one second.
It's time for On Target Radio, Chicagoland's only radio show dedicated to the red meat issues that affect your life, from gun control to freedom of speech. Now, debating, debunking, and discussing today's hot issues. Here are your hosts, David Lombardo and Gretchen Fritz.
Welcome to On Target Radio, where tonight David and Gretchen will weigh in on the Chicago Tribune's anti-Trump columnist Chris Jones' admission that the press has a liberal anti-Trump agenda. And just when you think the progressive agenda can't get any worse, we're informed that Medicaid will now be covering sex reassignment surgery. But There is positive news out of New York, where the village of Canton attempted to block a church from moving into their commercial district. Church members said, "Oh, hell no," and a federal judge agreed. And, as if the liberal Illinois legislature isn't hard at work to make Illinois the most gun-unfriendly state in the union, Kathleen Willis has a harebrained plan to require FOID card applicants to receive a health risk warning against firearm ownership. And finally, David brings you the latest moment of AOC Zen, in which the historically challenged witless congresswoman from New York proves once again she has no concept of American history. And don't forget to check us out on YouTube, on Target Radio, where you can watch the show in real time and go back and view the archived version.
So even Chris Jones, who is a fairly liberal columnist in the Tribune, is now admitting that the media has bias against Trump, which, hello, it's, how long has he been in office now? 5 years? 3 years?
No, 2 years.
2? And the election is next year, isn't it?
No.
I'm absolutely totally unaware of anything that's going on around me. Who better to run a news show than someone who has no idea when the president's up for re-election?
That's a good question.
That's what I thought. But he's Trump got on a rant this past week about Saturday Night Live, particularly about Saturday Night Live, but just in general about, again, they're beating him up, and the fact is, I was at Second City back in the early 90s, and when Bernie Sahlins owned it. And the attitude was, they were always, kind of liberal. I mean, that's certainly true. But his attitude was, you got to provide something for everybody. And so it was pretty equal. I mean, they made sure that if we did something, against conservatives, there was something that, they were pretty equal about it. And that way, anybody could, it was about money, to be fair.
Well, and that's smart.
Yeah, it wasn't about politics. It was about money. Yeah, we want everybody to come through the door. That sort of changed after I left. I mean, not because I left, but after I was gone.
There was pre-David Lombardo and there was post-David Lombardo.
Yes. I don't think Bernie Sahlins even knew I existed.
No, probably not. I'm going to go with no.
Yeah, I'm going to go with no, too. Every once in a great while, he'd come around. We did the show at ETC, which is the little theater. It's down the hallway, kind of turn around the corner. And every once in a great while, he would come in and stick his head in the door to see if, we were actually there, and he'd leave. But no, they were what I've always said. Good satire is good satire. Doesn't matter if it's against your guy, for your guy, or whatever. Good satire is good satire, and they did. They stressed that. Well, Solomon sold out, and he retired, and he sold out.
Sure.
And it became, the agenda was no longer a hidden agenda. And the problem is that was the breeding ground. I think I told you when I was there, and they were unknown at the time, but Nia Vardolis was there, who wrote My Big Fat Greek Wedding, and what's the guy from The Office?
Steve Carell.
Steve Carell was there, and Stephen Colbert was there. They were all there at roughly the same time I was. They were the big shots there. They were main stage. I was not. But that was the breeding ground. Well, they all went on. The writers for all these shows, all those people, many of them got their start at Second City.
Yeah, especially the writers.
Exactly. And they're the ones now that are the senior people
right.
at all these shows, the Tonight Show and all that kind of stuff. And
right.
It's clearly liberal.
That's kind of why I pulled out this article. I thought it was interesting for two reasons. That if you think that these type of late night comedy shows have a left leaning bias, it's not your imagination. And the fact that this guy finally admitted it, that this writer, this liberal, writer critic guy,
sure.
Is admitting, yes, it's true. And this is, he gives the history of this is why. I thought it was interesting, because of that. I mean, I think it's something that we've obviously noticed for a long time. Conservatives, not just us, but conservatives have noticed for a long time. And, but for somebody to finally say, yes, it's not your imagination.
Well, and it would be disingenuous to say that whoever the sitting president is, whoever's in a position of authority and power is always going to take more heat.
Well,
there's no question about that.
They're right for parody.
Exactly. I mean, you don't You don't pick on the loser, you pick on the winner, right?
Well, unless it's Beto O'Rourke, and then he's right for parody too.
But so when Bushes were president, naturally they took more hits. Where you really noticed the change was when Obama became president, and they weren't doing it. The hits that they gave Obama were silly things.
They were soft hits,
Exactly.
just like the press threw him softball questions.
Exactly.
The comedians,
Skewered it.
gave him soft hits.
Yeah. Well, Obama, they did, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
So
So
we have
that's-
to wonder if that was, because they were afraid it was going to be considered racist or something like that, or
No.
I wouldn't
don't
think
think-
so, but I don't know. But
Well, I think it was a factor. I definitely think it was a factor.
It wasn't a factor in black Republicans.
Well, no, but what I'm saying is, like, when Obama was president, like, a lot of times when any conservative would say anything critical about him and his policies and the things that he was doing, they would be like, oh, it's because he's black.
Yeah, they
that
throw
you're
that
saying
right
that. So I think what you're saying is legit. I mean, I don't know that I ever heard anyone say that about the comedy part of it, but I think it's a legit concern, and I'm sure somebody in the comedy world, I'm sure it was in the background.
You're listening to On Target Radio. This is AM 560. The Answer. We're talking about liberal bias in the media and how it's been verified. Finally, a liberal journalist has stepped up and admitted it. That's Chris Jones of the Chicago Tribune. I think you're right. They softballed him. The women on The View, the interview with Obama was starkly different than the interview with Trump. I'm sorry, it wasn't Trump then. It was, who ran against Obama the last time? Tick, 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 tock. Who?
McCain? Romney?
Oh, McCain.
McCain. Totally different interview. Totally. I mean, in fact, at one point, one of the women on The View said, we're distantly related or something. I mean, they got into just BS stuff,
Right.
Whereas with McCain and conservatives, they just, raked him over the coals. But anyway, be that as it may, it is interesting that that at least somebody is stepping up to the plate and admitting that that's what's going on. And I don't know that it'll ever go back. We talked about the blurring of news and editorial, and it really started with 60 Minutes. I think that was where it began. I watched 60 Minutes back in those days, the early days, and it was a good show. But what they did is they made opinion sound like news, and people began to trust them as a news source when they should have been listening to them as an editorial. And now, look at where we are now. I mean, you read almost anything in the paper, and it's just somebody's opinion. There's very little fact.
yeah, the whole thing's an editorial, and that definitely changed over the years. And it's like that, slowly heating the water up analogy. They started putting these, editorials in here and there, and then now it's just everybody takes it as gospel and news.
Right, and my dad always complains about that when you watch like network news on television.
Right.
That there's so much editorializing, and they just throw it in, and they don't make a point of saying this is just my opinion. They don't make a point of saying this is editorial. They just they just do it.
They do. I remember being very surprised long after he retired to find out that, what's his name, the journalist? Walter Cronkite. When I found out that Walter Cronkite was a liberal, and he was a real liberal by the standards of the day, not by today's, it surprised me because, number one, he was always very even about reporting the news. He just literally reported the news. And there's a number of journalists who are that way. They don't let the politics get in the way of doing the story. They may personally believe it, but they don't let it get in the way. There's much less of that. Look at Maddow and people, Lemon and people like that. It's just so over the top.
They don't make any pretenses of what they are and what they believe in.
And when a network news show conjectures about during the actual election itself, if Trump were to be assassinated, what would happen?
Right.
I mean, that's
how do we prevent him from actually being inaugurated and all that?
That's
sort
like
of thing.
totally over the top stuff.
Yeah, that's way out on the edge.
Now,
Well, and I've said it before, but I will say it again. I think if a reporter, if a journalist goes on a show like Meet the Press as a panelist, speaking for an opinion, I don't think they should ever be eligible to be an anchor after that.
I agree. All right, we're going to have to take a break. When we come back, if you think you're screwed over this, wait till you see what's coming up. It's your tax dollars at work coming up, and we'll talk more about that on On Target Radio when we return. And you're listening to AM 560, The Answer. Well, that's because I was talking.
Because it went down to, I don't know, this must not be.
No, that's not.
I just want to let you guys know you are heard during the breaks on the stream.
This clock right here is the off. You have one there too, don't you? No?
No.
I thought I saw
I
one.
don't have a clock.
Well, it's covered up
Covered up with what?
with the internet.
Oh, really?
The window's covered up.
I like my clock. My clock and I are friends.
Watching this.
I put that on YouTube and I got one response so far.
Okay.
What'd you put on YouTube?
I did text my mother, and I messaged Larry on the On Target Radio thing. I'm like, "Are you still unemployed?"
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh, it says 4 watching.
Why not? Well, there you go.
Sorry.
And one of them's me.
Oh, so 3. Good.
Well, you know. What the hell,
I
right?
figure everybody's got like nothing to do at work on a Friday, or if they're even at work.
Well, right. It's Good Friday, so
I think most people are working
people
today.
Didn't show up, so then the other people can't really do their work because.
If I'm there today, I ain't doing shit.
No, see,
Shouldn't have taken
I
it
worked
off.
so late yesterday at Edward Jones. My boss goes, "What time are you leaving?"
You go home now. You scare me.
Yeah,
I'm supposed to
exactly.
leave? What?
He goes, "You go home now. You've been here 4 hours."
I sleep on the desk.
So yeah, the boss left. Working.
Nice. Yeah, I got out late yesterday too. It was a pain in the ass.
Yeah, I told him I went home, and I was like, "Hey, Kat, you want to take a nap?" And I set the timer for like 45 minutes, and then when it went off, I just turned it off. I went back to sleep for like another half an hour. I was so tired.
Get up in the morning sometimes.
I was so tired. Well, it was like 5, so I slept from like 5 to 6:30-ish,
That's pretty good.
6:20, something like that.
Cat nap.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Man, I think he's like influencing me. It feels like I have a frog in my throat too.
Uh-oh.
I kept trying not to cough, but
I wonder where that term ever came from.
I don't know, but are we ready?
Look it up in the OED.
I hope so.
Over there.
George wants to get on with it.
I'm ready.
Well, my wife was in a car accident this morning, and she's fine, but we are now an hour late, so I'm trying to...
I thought we were waiting for you.
Oh, no, that's why I've said repeatedly that I'm waiting for you and whenever you're ready.
Oh,
But see, when you take your headphones off, you don't hear things.
I don't really hear them even when they're on. So
This
it's kind
is
of-
true as well. This is also a fair point.
No, we're good.
There's certain expectations that must be met here. And it's like, 1 second.
I'm ready.
Get this shit going.
Language, said bad language word.
Oh no.
Uh-oh.
Slap on the
The
hand.
Asshole.
internet, you're going to be in YouTube jail.
Oh well. It won't be the first time.
You're listening to On Target Radio on AM 560, The Answer, with David Lombardo and Gretchen Fritz. Here's David and Gretchen with more interesting conversation on gun control, concealed carry, freedom of speech, and other red meat issues that affect your life. To participate, call the studio at 312-642-5600.
Actually, don't call the studio.
That's a good point. I'd like to
We're
see,
not live.
I'd like to see the hands of everybody in here who has been diagnosed with gender dysphoria. Is there anyone? Okay, well,
Man, I'm glad I'm not in that room.
this will, this article will not be your tax dollars working to your advantage. Then,
Yeah, this is pretty much this is pretty much sure to make everybody mad, which makes it the red meat issues that affect your life.
Exactly. So for those people in our listening audience who are interested in genital or breast-related surgery,
well, no, I think that's hyperbole. It's gender reassignment surgery.
well, that's true, but that's how they reassign it.
I'm sure there are a lot of people who would like breast surgery who don't have gender dysphoria.
I'll bet there's a number of people who want genital surgery who do not have gender dysphoria.
You know, you're setting me up, and I just can't
do it.
No,
spike it.
I'm not gonna,
Spike it.
It's not going to happen.
I set it up. You spike it.
Hey, whatever makes it easier to walk, Dave.
That's how this relationship works. So anyway, you probably heard that J.B. Pritzker announced that Illinois Medicaid. They want Illinois Medicaid to start covering gender reassignment surgery as early as this summer. Pritzker released he did a press release, and in it he said, "Healthcare is a right, not a privilege, and I'm committed to ensuring our LGBTQ community and all Illinoisans have access to that right. Expanding Medicaid to cover gender-affirming surgeries is cost-effective, blah, blah, blah. And most importantly, it's the right thing to do."
How is it cost effective? I
Yeah,
don't understand that at all.
No, and when I tell you what the cost is, you will reiterate what you just said. It is not cost-effective.
I don't know about that for guys. If you were to surgically remove it, just thinking outside the box, clearly on this one, the desire goes away. Now think of how much money women cost.
I've heard that's not true.
It's funny you would have heard that. I've heard nothing. No guy's ever come up and said, "Hey, I had him clipped off." And
because they've proposed that for pedophiles. Like if they want to let pedophiles, they've done their prison time, but they can't really be out in society because they still have those urges. They've proposed castration, but I've heard that there's no research to show that actually works.
I think breast implants are a better suggestion for pedophiles because then they'll be easier to spot.
Is there? We don't have a switch for him, do we?
Apparently not. Apparently we can't.
I'll be editing myself out of the episode.
So what you're saying is, if I have gender dysphoria, I can just go to my local clipper guy, whoever does this stuff, and they just remove the parts. How does that work?
Well, I mean, obviously, you have to be diagnosed. You have to, have evaluation beforehand that you're a good
What
candidate.
exactly do they evaluate? Well, you know what I'm saying? What do they when they talk to you?
They evaluate, yes, you're actually mental.
I was going to say, they'd make sure you're not mental, but then you'd have to be mental. So
right.
I don't,
no, they actually verify, yes, you have a mental problem. Yes, you actually think you're a woman trapped in a man's body. And then, that physically you could, withstand the surgery, I suppose. I suppose there would be health conditions that would make it so you couldn't.
Well, that I can see.
Yeah, I'm sure there are evaluations. The thing that I think our audience might be interested in is there will be a public comment period. So I don't know if I find a link for this, I will put it out on our Facebook page because this is something that I think that conservatives would want to comment on for sure. But the other thing that, and this may end up in your comments, very appropriately so, is how much it actually costs.
Money.
Would you like to hear how much it actually costs?
I would love to hear how much this costs.
And I learned more about gender reassignment surgery than I ever wanted to know. Apparently, never really occurred. I always just think of they change the genitalia. Actually, they have bottom and top surgery, apparently, for both genders. So never even occurred to me, oh yeah, of course. But I mean, I knew that they take the hormones, and for males that makes them start growing breasts. So I just thought that's,
So it's not for if you're a bottom or a top. It's referred to
it's referring to the surgery.
Wow.
So if you were, just for hypotheticals here, if a transgendered male is dating a transgendered female, would they go into surgery together?
Well, that's what I said earlier. I mean, they could just bring them both in at the same time and just swap parts.
Right. And they would be perfectly comfortable because they'd still be around their body parts. It'd just be on the other person.
Yeah. Makes complete
And would
sense.
that make them?
But they didn't. But they don't like their body parts. So I would think they wanted to go to like another state or something.
Well,
They don't
have
like it
this,
on
like,
them, on
Craigslist,
themselves.
like, trade body parts thing going on or something.
Yeah,
Well, they do organ transplants. So
There you go.
why not?
guys love their body parts.
Why not?
They may not want to wear them.
Not those guys.
Well, they may not
apparently.
want to wear them personally, but they're very much into that kind
I
of.
don't know. We need to like get a transgender person on the show and be like, do you actually hate your own penis?
I think we're
Like,
treading
how
close.
do you feel about that?
I think we're treading close
What,
to the
other
line.
people's penises?
I don't feel about that. at
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's basically what it is. Of like, I hate my penis, but I like yours.
all. I never knew you had
Well,
one.
I'm glad to know that.
You're listening to On Target Radio, one of the strangest shows in the city of Chicago, on Easter night.
I forgot about that.
We could have picked a different topic than sexual reassignment, but anyway,
No, I think this is very appropriate because
everybody's good
what
liquored up.
what we are saying is that you should appreciate the way you're created.
and you're listening to AM 560, The Answer. Okay, now we can go on. Here's the interesting thing, to get serious about this. The interesting thing is the terminology, gender reassignment, as if it was perfectly reasonable to assume that someone could have been assigned the wrong gender to begin with.
Well, that's their assertion.
That I mean, all the joking aside that we do, and to be fair, all the joking we do, I do feel bad for people who really believe that, because that's what they really feel it. That's
well, and
that's
that
a
would be
shame.
pervasive.
It would, absolutely.
If your identity is, if you have dysphoria surrounding your actual identity, I mean that's
screws you up.
pervasive.
That-
yeah,
that-
I mean,
that messes up your mind,
That's
yeah.
all day, every day. And that's actually there's a very good article in the Daily Signal, very brief actually, which is surprising for the Daily Signal. And they point out gender dysphoria is a real mental health illness. What's not clear is how invasive, irreversible cosmetic surgery on an individual's genitalia and breasts can help someone struggling with a mental health illness like gender dysphoria from avoiding the sort of long-term health consequences Pritzker, mentioned in his press release. So, and there really isn't good science behind this. A lot of the people who feel gender dysphoria beforehand don't feel much better
And
afterwards.
commit suicide.
And there's a very high rate of suicide, both, people who don't get the surgery and people who do get the surgery. It doesn't fix what's wrong in their head.
There was a comedian that what he said was really funny, but it really is very true. He said, "I'm ADD." He goes, "I'm a very ADD guy." He said, "When I was a kid, I was ADD, except they didn't call it ADD when I was a kid. They call it Tommy needs a spanking again."
Yeah, it's true.
But that's you are what you are.
Right.
I mean, you know what? They do a little test, and it comes up, that's a boy. And you don't have to have all the parts there. They could be missing through some horrific accident. But when you do the little test, that's a boy, that's a girl.
Yeah.
There's not how many, what's the latest number? 30-some?
I thought it was 63. I don't know. The number
Variations
sticking
of
in my
what
head.
sex you are, yeah.
But yeah, according to a 2016 study by the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, which they looked at 33 studies between 1979 and 2015 related to the question of whether gender reassignment surgery is medically necessary. The quote is, "There is not enough high-quality evidence to determine whether gender reassignment surgery improves health outcomes for people with gender dysphoria and whether patients most likely to benefit from these types of surgical intervention can be identified prospectively." So, it's there. Like I said, there is no real good science behind it, and I didn't get to the cost. So let's circle back around to the cost. For males transitioning to be females, the cost is about $35,000 for top and bottom surgery.
For a pair of scissors?
Well, see, it's more complicated than that. And a female transitioning to a male, the prices can range quite a bit. It says from $12,000 to over $25,000. So it says there are multiple types of genital surgery for the women. And then there's also the hormone therapy and the mental counseling on top of that, which $5,000 being a low annual estimate. That's a lot.
All right, we're going to take another break. When we come back, a village in New York banned a church from going to the commercial district, and the feds said, no good. Listening to AM 560, The Answer.
What the hell is the world coming to?
We ready to go back?
I'm ready for you.
Let me just take a little quick peek at this.
She's going to take a little, what?
Peek.
I thought you said, okay.
Dream on.
Well, now we know what Dave's into.
I think we knew.
When he asked me to redo his bathroom and the drawing he gave me was just one large room with a giant drain in the middle, I thought something was off. That's just terrible.
We don't have a whole lot after this church thing.
No.
But they're short
Oh,
segments.
what I do
Yeah,
have, I do have the Will County resolution that I want to read. That'll take
and
that'll
I
take a
would
couple
put that
minutes.
You're going to read the whole
Yes.
thing? Awesome. I didn't know that was done in 2008.
Didn't need anybody
Everybody
else?
forgot. Everybody forgot
So we
about
were a
it.
sanctuary-ish
That's how resolute they were.
county before
We were
anybody.
before Effingham.
We were effing before Effingham.
There you go.
Can you imagine what a
Thank
better
God
world?
this is being recorded on YouTube.
Can you
love
imagine what a
this.
better world it was before political correctness took that town's real name?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
I mean,
That's true.
it just, we could say it.
Say what?
Technically.
Say what?
Effingham, fuckingham. He's
I
saying
mean,
it's,
political
he's
correctness
saying
took
it's a
their real name.
euphemism.
I just think you're asking for trouble. That's all. I'm just,
Well, it's a whole county, right?
Yeah.
What you've
Yeah.
just described, Dave, is the story of my life. I am ready when you are.
the story of my life is I'm never ready. Okay, I'm good whenever you're good, and you're good on the church thing, so
I'm ready.
you got it.
We now return to On Target Radio on AM 560, The Answer. If you have a question or an opinion, share it with us at 312-642-5600. And now, debating, debunking, and discussing today's hot issues. Here are your hosts, David Lombardo and Gretchen Fritz.
Share it with us next week because actually, while you're listening to this, we're probably eating ham or something somewhere. It's East
Effingham.
Effingham.
We're eating Effingham.
We'll get back to the Effingham later. That was a good one.
That was
good one,
good.
George.
It's entirely possible that we may be even more bizarre during the day than we are at night. But
I was actually thinking, getting ready to come here, I was actually thinking, the energy just won't be the same at 10
it's
o'clock in the
better.
morning that it will be at 9 o'clock at night, but turns out it's the same.
I think it's a little more up there.
apparently, when you have no idea what you're
It's
doing, the
ratcheted
energy is
up
the
even
same
more.
day and night. Yeah.
It works.
Okay, so our next story is a religious freedom victory, in my opinion. So there was a church called the Christian Fellowship Center. It's actually like a chain of churches. And in upstate New York, in a town called Canton, they bought a 3-story building located in the village's C1 retail commercial zoning district. And previously, there had been restaurants and bars in that building. So the church bought the building, and then they sought village approval to use it as a church. And the village tried to say, no, you can't have a church there. That's a commercial district. And so I assume the church took them to court because it was in court. And a federal judge said that they blocked the village's decision. And they said that the Christian Fellowship Centers of New York shields religious institutions from discrimination under zoning and landmarking laws. So there's a federal statute to that, and so the judge blocked that. It said the federal law is called the Religious Land Use and Institutionalized Persons Act. This portion of the federal law says that a government can't impose or implement a land use regulation in a manner that treats a religious assembly or institution on less than equal terms with a non-religious assembly or institution. So, yay.
It's interesting that progressives, and really liberals in general, have always taken the separation of church and state to mean that nothing religious can touch in any way anything that's public, government. I remember there's a famous photo of a bunch of Marines praying as a group. I think it was before they were going to go out on a mission. And they went berserk. That's a government job. You can't do that. That's crap. You can.
Yeah.
What it says is the government can't provide you a religion and force you to believe in it.
Right. There can't be a national religion.
Right.
We're not going.
Like the Brits and
we don't
some
have a
countries.
theocracy. Right. Exactly. We're not Iran or something where there's a theocratic government. And the judge noted that according to the village ordinance in the C1 zone, it's designed to provide an area for recreational and cultural facilities and allows for nearly every other type of non-commercial secular assembly. So they just basically said that they were just straight up discriminating against the church.
You're listening to On Target Radio. This is AM 560 The Answer. We're talking about a town in New York that denied a church access to a building that they had purchased, but was in the commercial district. And so we're talking about the whole concept of separation of church and state. But that's true. They've always used, because they hate religion. The only religion is religion of the state for them.
Right.
So anything they can do to bar it. But they hate religion, and they've tried that over and over. Now the downside, because there is a downside, the downside is anybody that claims to be a religion has a right to display whatever they got. You know, they put creches, used to, I guess a lot of places don't anymore because they're paranoid, but nativity scenes, creche, whatever you want to call it. Christians have done that for generations. Well, literally Muslims could do their thing and whoever could do their thing. I mean, I say the downside. It's the downside because we think that's not right, but you don't see Christians rallying around going, Jews can't put up a menorah or something.
No, not at all.
It's the government. Well, it isn't just the government in general. It's liberals. Liberals. You can't do that. Well, yeah, you can.
Mm-hmm.
You can do that. So that's like First Amendment, like Second Amendment. There's pluses and there's minuses to it, but they're all designed specifically to protect your right as a law-abiding citizen to believe the beliefs that you have.
And free exercise of those
Exactly.
beliefs, free exercise of religion. Yeah, it's something that, has been talked about quite a bit in Illinois. They had a Christmas display, Christmas tree. I don't know if they had a nativity scene in the Capitol building, but the Satanists, they wanted their satanic
And they got it.
There was like a statue there.
It was.
And I guess Illinois law says that anything like that can be displayed. They can't really pick and choose what gets to be displayed. And so it was like, I don't know, like a hand holding an apple with like a snake wrapped around it or something like that.
But the fact is, if anybody, takes it upon themselves to say that's inappropriate, then anybody can say that's inappropriate.
Mm-hmm.
So it's First Amendment issue. You have a right.
Right. Yeah, in Will County, there was a big brouhaha with Democrats, the new Democrats that came in, and they wanted to get rid of the invocation. And, we had no problem with them bringing in, a Hindu or that, but they wanted to bring in like a witch.
Okay, we're going to take a break again, and we'll be back with more on Target Radio, and we're going to have our moment of AOC Zen when we return. All that and more when we come back, and you're listening to AM 560, The Answer.
Yeah, the show goes on YouTube sometimes.
Oh, hi.
Hey.
We don't have the AOC
Sure.
in the packet. You've got it?
I've got it, yeah.
You can go walk around by Dave.
It's a little bit like a rant.
You won't be on YouTube.
Yeah,
if you're on
actually,
that show.
yeah. So we could see you a little bit, but we'll see you better
Well,
if
both
you're
that
over
chair.
by him.
Yeah,
That'll raise you up.
there you go.
There you go.
And so, and you're going to
be
do,
closer.
Here, let me hold this so you don't fall.
You got to be like up his butt, kind of.
where's the Democrat health one thing?
Wheel you over. All right. Ready?
Closer to the telephone. Put her closer to the telephone. There you go.
Is she
There
in
you
there?
go.
All
A little
right,
bit
Dave
more.
moves, she'll
A
be
little
in
bit
there.
more. Dave, shove over. There
Dave,
you
over
go.
here.
There we go. There we go.
Are we in? I don't think we're in.
Yeah, no, she's in.
Okay, so I don't.
So Zoe,
there we go.
Chloe, look at the camera and wave. Look at the camera.
Dave, move
Wait.
over this way because you're going to be blocking.
I did put it down.
Cool. I don't
There
have
you go.
the.
Now you're on. Now
What are you
you're on.
missing?
Oh, here it is. I got it. No, I don't have the thing on. Yes, I do. Okay. All right.
We're going into 4.
I gotta go back to work.
Okay.
You got the what you talk about Willis
You can
thing
sit back
ready?
here if you want.
Because I don't think George can fire it off from in there.
Yeah, you're talking about the
What you talking about, Willis?
the AOC thing.
No. What you talking about, Willis?
Oh,
Talking about Willis.
so when do you want that? When do you want that?
When we talk about Kathleen Willis.
Okay, all
Oh
right.
my gosh.
What you talking about,
He didn't
Willis?
have his Wheaties this morning.
Okay, so we're going to start with the moment of Zen.
Okay.
All right, George, whenever you're ready, I'm good.
All right. Would you like my child to exit the studio?
Not really. I mean, she's not going to start yelling, is she?
Can you be
You need to
quiet,
ask her.
Chloe? Okay, she's going to be quiet.
Okay, that's good with me.
Chloe, that means absolutely quiet.
We now return to On Target Radio on AM 560, The Answer. If you have a question or an opinion, share it with us at 312-642-5600. And now, debating, debunking, and discussing today's hot issues. Here are your hosts, David Lombardo and Gretchen Fritz.
It's time now for your moment of AOC Zen.
Ah, yes. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez continues to be the darling of congressional socialist liberals, a fact that underscores what conservatives have known since she took office. The relationship between AOC and her liberal love fest cohort is best described by the movie title Dumb and Dumber. According to AOC, the Democratic Party was bolder during the period 1929 to 1933, when recovery from the General Depression began. The Democrats had a supermajority in the House and the Senate, plus Franklin Delano Roosevelt as president. So many extraordinary things happening in that time period that united the American people, she opined. It led to the New Deal helping out Americans during the Depression. The Democrats actually won the majorities because the American people blamed Herbert Hoover and the Republicans for the Great Depression. It was also true that Republicans regained control of the Congress while FDR was president. Referring to the Republicans, Ocasio-Cortez went on to say, they actually had to amend the Constitution of the United States to prevent FDR from getting reelected to a fourth term. No. FDR was initially elected in 1932, then subsequently reelected in 1936, 1940, and 1944. What's not true is the Congress passed the 22nd Amendment to prevent FDR from being reelected. The 22nd Amendment was ratified when Alabama, the sole remaining state to weigh in, ratified the amendment in 1951. The significance of that date is it's fully 7 years after FDR died in 1944. We offer a tip of the hat to Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez for her unique grasp of history and for her strong national identity as the face of the socialist democratic agenda. Truly, she is a gift that keeps on giving. She just doesn't run out of this. It's like Saturday Night Live writers are writing for her, you know? I don't know what...
Well, yeah, whenever anybody, just in casual conversation, whenever anybody says anything negative about her, I'm like, oh no, she's the gift that keeps on.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, I love her.
I want
She
her to
does not
keep-
need any help.
Oh, yeah. No. I want her to keep them. What's really interesting is now she has actually breeding her own army of people who make stuff up that she said, which is stupid stuff, which actually isn't true. But
That's funny because they used to do that to Sarah Palin. So now,
exactly.
other side of the coin, flip the script. Karma's
Yeah.
a bitch.
Speaking of really, speaking of idiots.
What you talking about, Willis?
It's you got to be on the ball.
There we go. So we're going to talk about Kathleen Willis again. She's pushing a health risk warning for applicants seeking to acquire a FOID card necessary to buy guns in Illinois. And this is attached as Amendment 1 to HB 96. And actually, I wanted to know what HB 96 was, so I looked it up. And unless I'm really wrong here, it looks like all they did in HB 96, this is Amendment 1, what she attached, but it looks like HB 96 replaced the word the with the. I mean, I'm not even joking. It says, this act may be cited as the Criminal Code of 2012, and the is struck out, and then the word the is there. So unless I'm really stupid, that's what HB 96 is. It has a few co-sponsors.
I wouldn't put it past them.
I wouldn't either, but it's a Madigan thing. So it's supposed to say, warning, the presence of a firearm in the home has been associated with an increased risk of death to self or others, including the increased risk of suicide, death during domestic violence incidents, and unintentional deaths to children or others.
So she wants to add that on the application for a FOID card.
Is that like putting it on the side of a pack of cigarettes?
Yeah,
Smoking causes cancer?
Yeah.
Basically.
Just engrave that on the side of all the guns or something. It's
basically.
So, just to make sure I understand, if you put up a no gun sign, bad guys go,
gosh,
I wanted to knock this place over, but it's got a no gun sign. So we're adding to that pile of smoking whatever.
Bleep.
Yeah. We're adding that if you put a warning on a FOID card application, people will not buy guns.
People are going to go, oh, no, maybe I shouldn't get it.
I was really mad, but you know what?
Yeah,
I might kill somebody with it, so let me not do that.
Yeah. You know what? I don't need a gun. It's too dangerous.
Let me see. Can we think of why people are leaving Illinois in droves? Could we come up? We could do a show on why people are leaving Illinois in droves.
Well, I think that is what our show's about. Pretty much week after week.
Yeah, it's true.
So, do we have time for me to do this resolution?
You got about a minute.
Okay. So, I don't know if I can do. I can give the lead in and then I can read it later after the break, maybe. So we actually, at the ISRA meeting on Wednesday, we had the question about whatever happened to Will County passing the gun sanctuary resolution. Effingham County started it, and then a bunch. I guess there's 62 counties now
most of Illinois
who has passed some sort of either gun sanctuary resolution or Second Amendment preservation type of resolutions. So, everybody's been complaining that Will County didn't do it, hasn't done it, isn't doing it, etc. Well, come to find out, we did do it 6 years ago. 6 years before I was on the board. We did it in 2008. So we did
were
it
the first.
10 and a half years ago.
We were first. Yeah.
So yeah, I've got it right here, and I can read it after the break if we have time.
We'll read it after the break. But it's interesting that Will County was the first. When I went in and said a few words to the county board, the Democrats are saying, well, it was inappropriate.
Oh, they lost their minds.
Yeah. All right, we're going to have to take another break. When we come back, you get Gretchen's action items on the return and a little more closure on that thing. All that and more. We return with more on Target Radio, cracking voice and all. You're listening today on 560.
The answer.
You only got a few more minutes. We'll make do.
What's the matter?
No, am I not reading this correctly?
What?
So this is HB, and it says right here, by changing the section as follows.
It was probably just a shell bill.
It's gotta be.
Well, I think probably what happened, what they're saying. Oh, there's nothing after that?
No, that's the end of it.
Oh my gosh.
So they replaced the word the with the.
So they probably they were gonna take it out, or maybe they took out a bunch of stuff. Well, if they had it taken out a bunch of stuff, it would all be redlined.
I pulled the PDF. I pulled the other amendments.
So they took it out and then they put it back in.
They took it out. They put it back in. They attached her amendment to it.
Yeah.
So they just had it sitting there to attach the amendment to.
Yeah.
That's a bunch of bullshit.
Years ago, an aircraft manufacturer, Piper Aircraft, went bankrupt and came back from bankruptcy. And they named the company. And I wrote a glowing article about the job that they'd done. And I got a letter to the editor criticizing my article. And they said the article was fine, but I referred to them as New Piper Aircraft Company.
Okay.
And the actual name of the company was the New Piper Aircraft Company.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly what I said.
And now if the word "the" was capitalized, I could see like the Criminal Code of 2012. But
Yeah, it's not.
no, it's just the word "the." It's just,
Yeah, I think it's just an excuse to have the amendment.
I mean, I don't even know how you could do that. Like, if you were going to change a word or something, but just replacing it with the same word,
Yeah.
So you're good to go with action items?
ready to go.
George, you ready to go?
Oh, yeah.
George probably been ready.
We're ready whenever you are, brother.
I was born ready.
Yep.
Are you kidding?
That's probably true.
Stand by.
It's born half cocked.
I was born free.
I was born fat.
You're listening to On Target Radio on AM 560, The Answer, with David Lombardo and Gretchen Fritz. Here's David and Gretchen with more interesting conversation on gun control, concealed carry, freedom of speech, and other red meat issues that affect your life. Stand by. Here's Gretchen with your action items for the week.
Join On Target Radio and 82,000 other freedom-loving patriots at the NRA annual meeting, April 26 to 28 at the Indiana Convention Center in Indianapolis. NRA members get free admission. The following Safer USA classes are at our facility in Waterman. Saturday, May 4th, Illinois Concealed Carry Renewal class taught by David. Sunday, May 5th, Long Range Rifle taught by Ed Jenka. Saturday and Sunday, May 18th and 19th, Illinois Concealed Carry 1. This 16-hour class will be taught by David and Gretchen and meets the training requirements for Illinois Concealed Carry as well as Florida and Arizona. To sign up for classes, go to saferusa.com and click on register.
You have a little more to say about...
I did.
Yeah.
I did. So I want to make sure that everybody, especially in Will County, but the surrounding counties as well, I want to make sure that everybody realizes that we actually were way out in front with the pro-Second Amendment resolution. And so Steve Balich, with the help of one of our staff members actually at the county board office, found that we actually passed this in October of 2008. So we were way out in front with the resolution of the county board opposing the enactment of any legislation that would infringe upon the right of the people to keep and bear arms. Whereas the right of the people to keep and bear arms is guaranteed as an individual right under the Second Amendment to the United States Constitution and under the Constitution of the State of Illinois. And whereas the right of the people to keep and bear arms for defense of life, liberty, and property is regarded as an inalienable right by the people of Will County, Illinois. And whereas the people of Will County, Illinois derive economic benefit from all safe forms of firearms recreation, hunting, and shooting conducted within Will County using all types of firearms allowable under the United States Constitution and the Constitution of the State of Illinois. And whereas the Will County Board, being elected to represent the people of Will County and by their oath of office are to uphold the United States Constitution and the Constitution of the State of Illinois. And whereas the Illinois House of Representatives and the Illinois Senate, being elected by the people of the State of Illinois and by their oath of office to uphold the United States Constitution and the Constitution of the State of Illinois. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the people of Will County, Illinois, do hereby oppose the enactment of any legislation that would infringe upon the right of the people to keep and bear arms, and consider such laws to be unconstitutional and beyond lawful legislative authority. Be it further resolved that the Will County Clerk shall send a copy of this resolution to the Will County state and federal legislative delegations and the governor of the state of Illinois. So we passed this on the 16th of October in 2008.
There you go. We were number one in the state of Illinois.
So there, yeah,
Right.
I mean, as far as we know, we were the first, and so we don't need to do another one because this one is still in
Exactly.
effect.
And I just want to say, I've said all along that Will County doing something like this before I knew about this resolution is a big deal because we touch Cook County.
Right.
Exactly.
We were like
Yeah.
the giant in the room that needed to do this to really push things forward. And if Will County can do it, any other county can do
Well,
it.
right. We're a huge county, a very diverse county. We've got
Right.
very, urban areas and we've got rural areas. I mean, we have everything in between. So,
this
yeah,
is
I
a
agree.
big deal. This
I
is
agree.
awesome.
So when we come back next week, we've got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about. We're taking, you and I are going to take a class with John McPhee, Shrek, this coming week. We're going to the NRA convention, so we have a whole bunch of stuff we can hit on next Sunday.
Yep.
So it should be an interesting show next Sunday.
And Trump. I'm gonna get to see Trump talk.
You get to see Trump. You get Trump
Yay.
time. I got my Trump time last year. You're going to get it this year. Yeah. So that'll be fun. Anyway, we'd like to thank you for listening to On Target Radio.
We'd also like to thank George Huffman on the board. Learn how you can be a sponsor partner for a lot less than you'd imagine. Call 815-741-3474 for details.
And on behalf of Gretchen, Eric, and I, we hope that you had a blessed Easter surrounded by loved ones. And please be sure to listen next week when we'll review our trip to the NRA convention and we'll talk about more red meat issues that affect your life.